You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Latest episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. Tyler Mon, Sam Dykstra, just the two of us this week. What's going on, dude? How are you?
I'm good, Tyler. Ben is on the road going through the Carolinas this week. Sadly, his first stop in Greenville was rained out. I'm sure he'll tell us more all about it. I don't need to be updating people on what Ben will be doing. Ben is still very much a voice on this show. Currently traversing through mostly South Carolina with one stop in North Carolina. So we'll be back with him as a trio, but we're opening up just me and you this week.
We are.
How are you?
I miss the Carolinas very much, but I'm going to Durham later on this summer for a Home Run Derby X event. Very excited about that. Very excited to eat Southern fast food again. That's a big thing. I'm very excited to go crush a Bojangles breakfast or a Zaxby's lunch or I've never been to is it Checkers? I think Checkers is another one.
Checkers is a thing for sure.
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? And I feel like there's one other one that I thought of.
I mean, Cookout is the one that I always have to stop
Cookout, right. Which I'll be in Atlanta as well around All-Star time. So that Cookout I might need to make a stop there because I think that started in Atlanta. I want to say, I don't know, but I'll be 600 pounds by the end of August or so, which will be great.
I got to say, Cookout is one of those places that every time I'm in the Carolinas, which happens, once or twice a year.
The cradle of minor league baseball.
Yeah, of course. I think why don't we have this up north? Bring this up north. And then I think, you know what? No, leave it in its special place.
Yeah.
Cheerwine, the same thing.
That is true.
If Cheerwine existed in New York,
right. It's not special.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can just get it, and I know that you can just order I had an example of this when I was in New York a couple weeks ago when we saw each other. I love, not a sponsor, I love Blue Point Toasted Lager, which is a New York beer. One of my favorite beers ever. Can't get it out here, that's kind of nice. When I go out, it's still special when I go out east. For example, In-N-Out. They opened some In-N-Outs in the Denver area. I'm not going to In-N-Out now. It was cool when I would go to California or, Arizona for spring training or whatever. But now it's I don't know. If I can get it, it's not that cool. It's like the girl in middle school who wanted to hang out with you and then got to hang out with you and she wasn't that excited to hang out with you anymore. You know what I mean?
I don't, Tyler. I don't. I can't speak to your high school experience.
Whitney Reed, that was just me. Well, Sam, it is so good to see you and chat with you, and we have so much to get to. We have a very fun second segment today that I'm excited for because we're going to do some ranting about something fun. But before we get into all of that, we got a retro throwback 3 strikes for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. And before we get into that, we wanted to say thanks for tuning in. You can get in touch with us, of course, podcast@milb.com. We got the weirdest email to podcast@milb.com, which is from a guy who I Googled who apparently is an actor of some kind, but invited us to a party at his house where he claims that Mookie Wilson and Jim Leyritz are going to be. I don't know I have no idea what that email was, but you too can email us podcast@milb.com. We did get some very fun emails. Another one from our buddy John McKay, who we were talking about what other weird increments of measure you could measure outfield wall distances in, and John McKay suggested, and I like this one especially for a team such as the Binghamton Rumble Ponies. He said, what have you measured outfield fences in hands like horses? I think that's great. The other thing that I did not know about that, did you know that and I guess this makes sense, but did you know that the hand measurement is actually based on one particular person's hand. Do you have any idea who that person is?
Ooh. I mean, I would hope it would be regulated in that way.
Yeah, right. It couldn't just be like, here's a generic hand. This is,
Yeah, it's
like
five
the
hands
ancient
for me, but
Egyptians did
seven
with
hands for you.
cubits, where
Right.
the elbow to the fingertip is different for everybody. But the
Uh,
hand measurement is based on one specific person's hand,
ooh,
and
I
it's
don't know.
old.
I really don't know.
King Henry VIII.
Oh, well,
Did
I
not know
should have
that.
figured. Yeah. Okay.
Former minor league front office member, former assistant general manager of the Visalia Rawhide, Matt Cooper, told me that, the Australian legend himself. I had no idea. I did not know that. Matty also suggested, and this one I really like, and I'm kind of surprised that nobody has done this yet. He said for Star Wars nights, you could do fence distances in parsecs. And then he proceeded to do the math for it. He said 330-foot outfield fence is 3.2597 times 10 to the minus 15th, I believe is what this means, which is 0.000, a lot of zeros, 32597. I'm kind of surprised nobody has done parsecs for a Star Wars night yet. You could just throw up like a temporary distance billboard for that.
Yeah, I mean
That seems kind of fun.
that also brings up one of my biggest bugaboos about the Star Wars universe and fandom. People used to say like, "Oh, he used to do the Kessel Run," and I can't remember how many parsecs now off the top of my head. Now that uh, we're actually recording the show, but people used to think that was a unit of time because
Oh, interesting.
it was Han Solo, but it was actually a unit of
A unit
measure.
of measurement, of distance.
Yes, of distance.
Interesting.
Um, and
Huh.
he had gone through certain, I think not black holes, but like certain portals to
Interesting.
travel the Kessel Run in fewer than however many parsecs. So
Interesting.
thanks for getting that right,
I had
Tyler. I
no idea.
appreciate that.
That's all Matt Cooper. That is all Matt Cooper. But you too can get in touch with us with your insane thoughts and queries at podcast@milb.com. And let's roll. We're going to do some old school three strikes on this week's episode of the show before the show. And we are going to kick things off with the top overall prospect in baseball, Roman Anthony, who is cruising right now in AAA with the Worcester Red Sox. The 21-year-old is currently hitting 318, 450, 528 through 49 games this season. The 79th overall pick in 2022. Sam, how much longer does this go for Roman Anthony? A guy who is right now looking very big league ready. What is the timeline like right now? How and when do the Red Sox make this happen for their top prospect, baseball's top prospect, and a guy who it feels like we're going to see in the outfield in Boston in real short order?
Yeah, I mean, that is the number one topic right now, I think, not only in minor league baseball, but also in just all of Boston sports. Right now, you have the Celtics out of the postseason. The Bruins were never in it. The Patriots are just starting.
Where does it
working
rank
out.
in relation to Bill Belichick, the Airbnb, Jordan Hudson, the Pablo
Oh,
Torre thing?
geez, I don't even want to get onto that. There are other fine podcasts that will be diving into that scandal. We don't need to join them.
We're not going that route?
We're not going to go that route. No, but Roman Anthony, the Red Sox right now, I don't want to say they're in a tailspin, but they've had a tough week in what's been overall a tough season. I think a lot of people expected them to be super competitive in the AL East and maybe even represent the American League in the World Series at some point, given what the roster was and the guys who are coming. And we've already obviously seen Christian Campbell open the year in the majors. Marcelo Meyer debuted within the last week since we recorded the show, getting a quick call from Worcester once Alex Bregman went down with a quad issue. So the prospects are coming, except for the number one guy. And a big reason why he's not there yet is because you look at all the Red Sox problems right now, the outfield really isn't the big issue. You've got Jarren Duran in left, Cedar Rafaela in center, and Wilyer Abreu in right. And all three of those guys are of starter quality.
Yeah, good
I
seasons.
think, pretty good. I mean, like Rafaela, you look at his baseball savant page, the guy still chases out of the zone plenty. He's been on the uptick and then had a stretch, I think, where he was 1 for 21 or 1 for 22 for a bit there, was starting to dip again, and then homers the other day. He's been running hot and cold, but one of the best defensive center fielders in baseball and carries a lot of value for his glove alone. Yes, he can be a super utility type. He's played shortstop before. Maybe he's the guy who ends up playing second base. Obviously, Trevor Story has not had a good year he's actually healthy this year for the first
Yeah,
really
first time
sustained
in a long
time in
time.
Boston. Yeah, but struggling defensively, struggling offensively. You would kind of think like, do you put Rafael at short? Does that open up a spot for Anthony? It's just tough to plug him in right now. The, Craig Breslow, speaking on Boston radio, I think it was earlier on Thursday, said like there are things to nitpick that he swings and misses too much in the zone right now. Honestly, it still works. He's riding a 24 game hitting streak or on base streak, I should say, on base streak, in which he's reaching base at a 477 clip.
Pretty
When
good.
he makes contact, it's exceptionally hard. He had two home runs within like a 3 or 4 game stretch that were each above 115 miles an hour. He leads AAA in barrels. He's up there in average exit velocity, which is above 95 miles an hour. He hits his hard hit rate is insane because hard hit rate is percentage of batted balls in play that are above 95. He's averaging above 95. Like everything is there for Roman Anthony to be ready right now. Maybe the Red Sox, like I know this is the Scorpion's nest of debate as well. Like, do you put Rafael Devers at first base because they have a major hole at first base right now that would allow, some DH spots to open up. Ian Brown wrote about this in his Red Sox newsletter. There's so many shifting pieces that have to happen for Roman Anthony to be in the big leagues, but like he's the number one overall prospect in baseball with a bullet. I don't think there's any debate. The Red Sox need a spark. They
Yeah.
can't keep losing games in extra innings, and their record in one-run games right now is atrocious. Don't
It
even get yourself in a one-run game if you
something
have Roman
preposterous.
Anthony.
It's like 4-15 in one run games,
I
something
think it might be four and
absurd.
16 now. Yeah, it's really rough, and
And
they've had
the other thing that's crazy about this is like they're not, I know the sky is falling as far as it goes for Red Sox fans, but like you're 9.5 games out of the division. You're as of right now, I think 4.5 out on the wild card. Like you're still it's May, whatever it is. The season is still very much in play. We could still see this team turn the corner and win the American League East. But I think your point is very valid that like right now you're looking for a spark and you've got this guy who potentially could be that. You find a way to make that happen.
yeah, and just so we get the record actually right here on Thursday, in one-run games they are 6-15.
Eek. Not
15
ideal.
losses is the most in baseball in one-run games. The next closest is Atlanta, who's 9-13. So at least they have 9 wins going for them. Yeah, it's been really, really rough going for the Red Sox of late. Part of that is starting pitching, right? Like Garrett Crochet is the clear ace. Terrence Houck has taken a step back. Brian Bayo isn't working deep into games. Um, they really haven't figured out how that rotation is going to work, and Roman Anthony's not going to solve that. But he gives you an opportunity to win because all the pieces are there for him offensively. It would not surprise me at all if he comes up pretty quick. I mean, they're talking about Christian Campbell playing first base against Atlanta in their series coming up against the Braves starting on Friday. So that shifts Campbell away from he's gotten some time at center, he's gotten some time at second base. If he's all the time at first, maybe you see Rafaela at second, and that allows Anthony to go into center. We'll see how things go, but I think he's knocking on the door. He's going to burst down the door, and I kind of expect, and this is not based on any inside info, but just the way things are trending right now for the Red Sox and for Roman Anthony, I think we're going to be talking about him debuting by the time we record our next podcast.
Which, if everything goes the way that it ordinarily does with this podcast, will probably get called up the second that we get done recording today. And then we'll do an addendum to say, we had this conversation before we knew this news. But no, I mean, it does seem as though theoretically, that is the perfect situation to fire that move, get that spark, get your team on track. We will see, but obviously something for Red Sox fans to be excited about. Also, you're 4 games under 500. Calm down. You'll be fine. All right. Strike two this week, Sam. It is somebody who is in kind of a similar spot right now, albeit with a team that is 3 games over 500, but a guy who seems to be sort of forcing his way into the conversation of when are we going to see this guy make this climb to the big leagues? And that is the number 10 overall prospect in baseball, the top Kansas City Royals prospect, and the 6th overall pick in last year's draft, Jac Caglianone, who at some point, I think we're going to have a conversation with Jack to see if he actually, family-wise, has ever pronounced his name Caglianone. Like, do we need to go like full on Italian American dude, Jac Caglianone? But the guy affectionately known as Cags around the baseball world, AAA Omaha is where he sits right now in the Royals organization. And that is after starting the season with AA Northwest Arkansas. And you thought like, he was great in AA. Let's see if he cools off at all in AAA. Here are the AA numbers through 38 games for Jac Caglianone. 322, 394, 553 with 9 home runs and 8 doubles, 43 runs batted in over his 38 games. He has played 8 games so far in AAA, and he is hitting 343, 351, 800. He has hit 5 home runs in his first 8 AAA games. 5 of his 12 hits so far have left the yard. 6 of his 12 hits have gone for extra bases because he's also got a double. That's probably not sustainable. You're probably not going to hit extra base hits 50% of your total knocks, but it's possible with somebody like Jac Caglianone. Sam, what is the timeline like right now? And is he accelerating this for the Royals? A guy who's got some versatility, can play first base, can play in the outfield. There are different spots where you can find him ABs. This is a Royals team, obviously, that has had a stalwart at first base in Vinny Pasquantino. Completely different note, but if both of those guys are on Italy's World Baseball Classic team next year, that's going to be super fun. Give us your thoughts right now on where Cags is.
Yeah, just to add some additional context to some of those numbers you threw out there, Tyler, because they are insane. I mean, he very much earned his call up to AAA Omaha when he did. And, talking about how he hit 5 homers in 8 games so far, those 5 homers happened over a course of 4 games. He homered in 4 straight games for Omaha. He went
AAA
homerless.
is supposed to be hard,
Yeah, well, I'll add this caveat to it, right? Is that they happened in Salt Lake. Salt Lake, we know, is at elevation.
Right.
This is the PCL, which is going to be hitter friendly in general. You're going to see some Jac Caglianone absolute tanks, right? Now, digging even deeper into the numbers, like the guy hits the ball hard again. I was just saying about Roman Anthony, average exit velocity above 95 miles an hour. Jac Caglianone, very small sample size. Good, put that to the side for a second. His average exit velocity so far is 95.9 miles per hour. So he's right there with Roman Anthony. He might have the best raw power in all of minor league baseball. I mean, it's like Stantonian levels that we're talking about here. And he's putting it together very early. Now, he has that first game back in Omaha earlier this week. What happens? 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. Like the chase rate is going to be a concern. At what point do more experienced pitchers, which is what he's going to face at AAA, do they expand the zone all the time against him and just be like, hey, we know you're probably going to swing a lot. Just see what happens. Now, he swings hard. He hits the ball hard. Even if it's, a few inches outside the zone, he can still rip it hard for extra base hits. Sometimes chase rates, you don't want to fall down too much on them and just be like, oh, this is worrisome. It's like, well, if he has this other elite tool that nobody else has, it'd be one thing if a guy with 40 power chased a lot, then he's not a prospect. That's not Jac Caglianone. He's at the other end of the spectrum. So it'll be interesting to watch that. But couple this move with the fact that the Royals DFA'd Hunter Renfroe around this time as well, who was their right fielder. Really rough numbers, negative WAR this year for a team with playoff implication or playoff dreams, getting back to the postseason after getting there last year. And you get Bobby Witt Jr. right now in his prime, Vinny Pasquantino in his prime, Chris Bubich having a great season, Cole Reagan's as part of that pitching staff. Like they have a lot of interesting pieces. They can't carry dead weight. So they get Hunter Renfroe out of the picture. Jac Caglianone playing a lot of right field. Not a ton. He's played 3 games there so far with Omaha, but he's also mixed in some left field. He's played 3 games in first base. Back when Northwest Arkansas, it was like mostly first base with a couple games in the corner outfield spots mixed in. Now we're starting to see that turn and go more 50-50. I think that's an indication that They are seriously considering it. They have said that all along. Like they hope that he can get there at some point this year. That's why they made him away from a two-way player to a position player only. Um, is he moving up his timeline? We'll see. Like what happens when the sample expands. But right now, these questions are going to keep coming as long as he keeps hitting tanks, and we know he's certainly possible and capable of doing that. I think he's moving into consideration for a debut by the end of June, which would feel aggressive for any other class, but we've seen Nick Kurtz up, we've seen Cam Smith up, guys that move quickly with varying levels of success, but Cags is right there with the best ceiling of the bunch.
All right, Sam. Strike three this week is about a story that you and our two pals, Jonathan Mayo and Jim Callis, have up on the site right now, and that is about the hottest pitching starts to the 2025 season. You guys in April did a story on the hottest hitting starts, but obviously pitching sometimes takes a little bit longer to evaluate. And you got guys making moves, from the Florida State League to the Northwest League, for example, which I know is one of the things discussed with a guy who was the number two prospect in his organization and is currently the minor league strikeout leader in Trey Yesavage in the Toronto Blue Jays system, who went from Dunedin to Vancouver in the Jays organization. So with pitching, a lot of times takes a little while to see where these guys are. And, are hot starts going to remain hot starts? Guys who start maybe struggling, are they going to get it figured out in May? When it comes to selecting one for each organization, obviously it can probably be a little bit challenging to narrow things down, but you got some really, really interesting names throughout in this group. Give us some of the standouts from this and some guys who, maybe catch your eye who you would expect. I mean, Trey Savage obviously is one of those, a guy who the Jays took with their first selection in 2024. Who else is right now a highlight among this group for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Trey Savage is a good one to start with because we kept clamoring for him to move beyond single A Dunedin. He was dominating that level with a good fastball out of that over the top delivery. He's got a really special splitter as well, and he's got a slider and a cutter, all of which were just dominating FSL bats. So he moves to high A Vancouver, and so far he continues to be a strikeout machine. So I know there are some people who are just like, should he honestly be in New Hampshire? And I think the Blue Jays, you look at the last 2 years, they've had a lot of pitching injuries and they haven't had a ton of success in developing arms. I think they realize they have lightning in a bottle here. With Trey Savage, Cal Steven is another guy who moved up to high A Vancouver, who they really like. Johnny King was a guy from their draft last year as well, who has put up some nice numbers, but he's a high school guy. I think they want to make sure that they don't ruin this. So allowing those guys to dominate high A is fine because they want to see them dominating Toronto in 2026, right? So, um, yeah, the stuff for you Savage right now is probably double A quality, if not higher. Would not be surprised if he continues to shove. The one I also want to point out from the 2024 draft is the number 2 overall pick in Chase Burns. Tyler, I don't know if you've seen Chase Burns' numbers at double A Chattanooga. How does this sound? 45 strikeouts in 29 innings. Pretty good.
Pretty
Couple
good.
that with 3 walks.
45 to 3.
It's insane.
It's like a fifth. Yeah, it's exactly a 15 to 1 strikeout to walk ratio. It's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
decent.
If you look at strikeouts per 9, it's 14 strikeouts per 9. If you look at walks per 9, it's under 1. Like, usually you get one or the other, right? You're going to be a strikeout machine, but that's going to come with some control problems. Burns doesn't have that. He's got a really special fastball that got hit a decent amount in college, but has not really been touchable on the pro side so far. We have Bubba Chandler right now as our number 2 overall prospect in the game. I think there's an argument that Burns is right there with him.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have that AAA success that Chandler does. But Burns has been really, really special for the Reds.
Yeah, the numbers for Chase Burns are like, how is any of this possible. Like if you just go, do one of those like I'm really bored at work. I'm gonna go just look at somebody's baseball reference page or their MLB.com page or their Fangraphs page or whatever. Like the way and looking, even in his time at Tennessee and at Wake Forest and all of that, like the numbers are preposterous everywhere. But his strikeout percentage this year in Double A is 42.5%, and it's down from 44.4% where it was at High A. He's striking out 43% of batters that he like, huh? What? No, dude, there are so many guys now who we just see doing things. You're like, stuff like this isn't supposed to be possible. How are you? How are you doing this? That's
Yeah.
insane.
No, it's very insane, and it's funny thinking back on that draft, right? Like
Yeah.
you see who was available to the Reds at number two, and
Right.
like JJ Weatherholt was being floated as a potential number one overall pick.
Yeah.
After the Guardians went with Bazana, Jac Caglianone like had immense ceiling. Was he going to be there at number two? Like Charlie Condon had his
Right.
fans coming out of Georgia, and the Reds decide to go another direction and take the pitcher in Chase Burns, who like is very interesting because it means they go back to the Wake Forest well. And if there's a well to go back to in the college ranks, like there's something about Wake Forest. They have a pitching lab. They develop pitchers really well. They took
Yeah.
Rhett Lauder with their first round pick in 2023. So it's like, is that what they're going after? Or is it just Chase Burns' immense ceiling because the stuff is so good? What turn him into a control artist that has basically been Rhett Lauder's MO, right? Like Rhett Lauder's always been a command guy, especially well, and he just doesn't have Burns' stuff. Burns was stuff over command. Now it's both, and
Yeah.
like the fastball, according to Synergy, is averaging 98 miles an hour. The slider is getting a swing and miss rate of 48%. The changeup, which he hasn't thrown too much of, is getting 67%. Like he doesn't need anything else. He's got that fastball and slider down so well with like 10 miles an hour of difference. Guys just can't touch it. It's
Yeah.
been incredible. So yeah, the Reds got another good one.
All right, Sam. That is three strikes for this week's episode of the show. Remember when we used to do a foul ball? What did we do for foul? We always had like a goofy thing for foul balls. We should bring that back for the next time we do three strikes. But we're going to step aside. I guess you could say our whole next segment is a foul ball because we have a very funny thing coming up, in which we are going to discuss another minor league baseball appearance, sort of, in a TV program. We've been talking about that the last couple of weeks, obviously with John Oliver. This is a totally different thing. It's in a fictional program. I'm going to harbor some resentment to Sam to making me watch it. But all of that is coming up after the break on this week's episode of the official podcast of minor league baseball, the show before the show. All right, rolling along in this week's episode of the show before the show. The last few weeks, we have been discussing minor league baseball in the television landscape with Last Week Tonight and John Oliver and the fantastic work that they did researching minor league baseball, wacky alt identities and everything else. Not even alt identities, just team identities. John Oliver and the Last Week Tonight staff, they're now working with the Erie Seawolves for a rebrand or a theme night or something. This week, we went a totally different way with minor league baseball in pop culture, in TV. And I'm going to let Sam tee this up because this was Sam's idea. And Sam, explain. Where, first off, are you a regular viewer of this show? Lay this out for everybody.
Yeah, so this is the Peacock program Poker Face, which is now in season 2. It's created by Ryan Johnson, who has done many cool things over the years, including the Knives Out series and bringing back Star Wars again, The Last Jedi, which I think is one of the better Star Wars movies. Argue with yourself about that if you disagree. But it's a very fun, like, I don't want to say it's like a I guess it's kind of a comedy. It's basically a serial crime program. That think of like Columbo from back in the day with like somebody who's just going to solve a murder or something that's gone on. It stars Natasha Lyonne, who plays Charlie Cale, She does a lot of just like rolling into cities. Like when the show started, I thought like, oh, this has a real Southwestern vibe.
Okay.
And I was coming off of the Arizona Fall League, and I'm like, all right, I've got a little bit of the desert in me. Like I'm really gonna like this. But it moves around the country a good amount. So they're now on season two, which is great. I like when shows are rewarded.
So have you watched this all the way through from season
I've
one to
watched
now?
all of season one. I'm
Okay.
still
Okay.
catching up on season two, but I had
Okay.
heard
I
about
got you.
season two featuring a baseball episode,
Okay.
and not
Right.
not just a baseball episode, a minor league baseball episode.
Correct. Right. You are.
So this is season two, episode five, which is titled "Hometown Hero." So Charlie Cale is now in Montgomery, North Carolina, which they say Montgomery, North Carolina. I'm led to believe it's Montgomery County.
Yeah. There is no Montgomery, North Carolina.
Yeah, there's not an actual town name unless I don't think there is.
I
My
think I
research.
actually missed the North Carolina. I heard Montgomery, but I don't think I even caught the North Carolina reference.
I think it's supposed to be North Carolina. But maybe I don't think it's supposed to
Neither
be
here nor there.
neither here nor there. Anyways, it's a minor league baseball team. They don't say which level, they don't say what the farm team is, what any of that stuff. It's pretty generic as far as that goes. But Charlie Cale becomes the ball girl for that team. We're not going to spoil the episode. Um, but there is a murder that happens. And Tyler, take it away from there because you watched it more recently than I have.
I did. And I have to say, um, I I don't know how long it's going to take me to get over the fact that you made me watch this show, Sam. We only have so much. There's a finite amount of time on this earth, and I spent 48 minutes of my life watching this. No, this is a conversation that I'm actually very excited that you and I get to have because as two people who work in sports, do you find yourself being just hyper overly critical about when sports are depicted in TV shows and in movies? Because I am. I even texted Beth about this, my wife, saying just like, I can't separate myself from like, that's not how that would go. That's not the way that would never happen like that. Do you find yourself doing that? Even like with
Yeah,
shows
no,
that I like, even like with Brockmire, Eastbound and Down, I was in Myrtle Beach when they filmed season 2 of Eastbound and Down at our ballpark. Like I got to work with the HBO location scouts and, met Will Ferrell and all that. Even that, like I watched that and I'm like, it's not the way it goes. They should have known that. They were around our front office. It's not the way that goes. Are you that way or am I just insufferable? I mean, I
no,
know.
no, I'm
Yeah.
that way too, and that's
Okay.
what I wanted to like leap off our conversation here with.
Yeah.
It just makes you think like all these shows that we watch that involve businesses that we're not a part of.
Right. Yeah. Is it the same for that?
Yeah.
Like if you
Now,
worked in an ad company in the 1960s, were you watching Mad Men? Like never would have happened like that.
yeah, and I think like we always caution those people to be like, "Hey, man, this is just a show. It's just trying to entertain. It's not a documentary. Just put all your stuff aside." And then we watch it and
That
we're
is
like,
so
"No,
true.
no, that's not how the PA announcer works. It's different when they're on my lawn. You know what I mean?"
So true. That's so like if I was watching a show and there was a plot line that covered a similar field to my wife's line of work and she was doing what I do, yeah, I'd be like, it's just a TV show. Like it's just escapist. Chill out. But the thing, and I have to kick off with two thoughts. Number one is Natasha Lyonne. Is she from New York? I can't tell. Why do I feel like she is in an alleyway trying to talk me into playing a dice game in 1952 Flatbush? Every single time I hear her chat, it's like, all right, we get it. You're from Brooklyn. I understand. I just can't get past like, are you a card shark? Is this some sort of like, are you part of a crime family that like, we made our money running rum back in the 1920s during Prohibition. And now I just can't get past it. But number two, and this is something that you noted in the notes that you put together on this, and this is my biggest pet peeve about shows that especially do baseball. For whatever reason, this is always a baseball thing. Public address announcers do not do play-by-play over the ballpark speakers anywhere on earth. And like this somewhat drove me nuts, even like with Brockmire, again, a show that I loved. although I never finished, which I probably shouldn't admit. Like, I love this show. Never watched the last couple of seasons. But like the PA person never goes over the speakers doing commentary in the ballpark. You can have like, and the thing that I think drives me nuts about that is it's so easy to get around it. Like, if you want to have someone describing what they're watching and what makes this wacky and whatever, like, you can have TVs on the concourse or at a concession stand or in a suite or in a bathroom or whatever and hear the commentary through that. But no human being has ever gone to a sporting event and listened to the public address announcer over the speakers giving like play-by-play updates. That drives me nuts. And they do that in this show. It drives me nuts. I'm sorry, that's one of probably many soapboxes that I'm going to get on. But I noticed that you put it in your notes too. And I was like, thank you, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a narrative choice, right? Like it's just about,
Right.
hey, we need somebody to discuss what's happening on the field.
Right.
And we need the other characters to hear what they're saying. Now, they probably
Right,
could have
right.
done, like you say, like somebody's holding a radio
Right.
and hearing what's being said.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Like
the
that's
Major League
fine.
Baseball or the Major League, I'm saying, like people listening to Bob Uecker,
Right.
not in the stadium, but
Right.
like hearing what's going on. There are ways of getting around that, but
So
no,
many ways of getting around it.
yeah, it just felt like well, you're not going to question this too much. But
Yeah.
again, like they're encroaching on our lawn here.
All right, so there are just like a lot of different things in this show that we want to go over and cover. I just want to first point out about the actual like mechanics of the show. It was filmed at the home of the Frontier League's New York Boulders, and I immediately like on the opening establishment shot. They've got this view of this gorgeous ballpark. I've never been there. This place looks beautiful, amazing backdrop. And I paused it and it said Clover Park. And I was like, well, I don't recognize that as an affiliated ballpark. So I looked it up. It looks amazing. Have you been to this place?
I actually have, and it's Clover Stadium.
Clover Stadium. Clover Stadium. That's right. Because
I
Clover
believe Clover.
Park is the name of the New York Mets spring training home in St. Lucie, Port St. Lucie.
Yes, and home of the St. Lucie Mets.
And home of the St. Lucie Mets.
But Clover Stadium, yeah, it's in
Right.
Pomona,
Clover Stadium.
New York, which actually it's very funny. One of my best friends, who I know from college, and was my roommate here for a long time, Alex. His family lives about 2 miles down the street.
Okay.
So I
Gotcha.
have been to.
How far is
Clover
this
Stadium.
from the city?
It's
Pomona.
like I want to say an hour 15, maybe.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
Gotcha.
It's on the other side of the Hudson River. But yeah, I've been there for like 4th of July fireworks and stuff when we used to go up there
That's
in the
cool.
middle of the summer. So it is a very nice little ballpark.
It looks beautiful.
I think they built it hoping that like an Eastern League club would
Right.
move at some point. It's gone from a Can-Am League team to now a Frontier League team. But I think they do pretty well because they're in their like own little pocket.
Yeah.
There, obviously the Hudson Valley Renegades are another team in that area, but not entirely close. So for people on that side of the river, it makes for a fun little summer thing to do. But yeah, it was pretty funny to see that come through because it is a suburban environment, so it could certainly pass for North Carolina. There's nothing in there that really screams New York in any way.
Yeah.
But yeah,
There's like some lovely green backdrop, elements in both North Carolina and upstate New York. I'm sure the eagle-eyed North Carolinian would be like, no, those aren't our mountains. But it's beautiful.
Yeah, on behalf of the Northeast, this might be payback for when Summer Catch was filmed in North Carolina instead of the Cape.
Ah, man, what an awful movie. Okay, Sam, as you said, we're not gonna like spoil this whole episode for anybody who wants to go watch this. But part of the premise of this episode is that this team, the Montgomery Cheesemongers, they have what ends up as the longest losing streak in minor league baseball history. I'm somewhat surprised. And again, this is one of those things that's like probably difficult to actually nail down, but I don't know if we have done a story on like the longest losing streaks in minor league history. There's a vague reference in this episode to this losing streak breaking a minor league record that has stood since 1951. Now there was a 19 game losing streak as of just a couple of years ago. The Rochester Red Wings back in 2022 lost 19 straight. This team eventually ends up losing over 30 straight games. And yet they're still turning them out of the ballpark. They're still getting like some decent crowds. So that's like an element of this that is a reference to actual minor league baseball. They don't say like what farm system this is. But there are like references to like the big league club and rookie ball. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I feel like I'm bogarting this conversation. Take me through some of your notes.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with what didn't work so we can end on the note about what did.
Okay.
Because I think there are some stuff there's some stuff in here that does work.
Yeah.
Like I know, like we're picking apart some nits here.
Hey, sorry, Natasha Leone. Come on, it's it's a real Rolex here.
I like Natasha Leone a lot.
It turns green in the rain. What are you gonna do?
I get that she might not be your exact.
She seems like a fascinating human being. I remember listening to an interview with her a couple years. She has had a wild life.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think like, like the lane that she has carved out for herself, she is, I mean, a fascinating story, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I have to make fun of that accent. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, yes, sure. If you want to start with that breaking minor league record thing, like we do this every day.
Yeah.
You kind of have to say like minor league records weren't really unified until
right.
I want to say like 2006.
Yeah.
So the idea of like knowing what the minor league record is,
right,
since 1951, pretty shaky ground.
Yeah.
On that, the main character beyond Natasha Leone's character is played by Simon Rex, whose name is Rocket Russ Waddell. A
lot of baseball references in that name. Rocket, obviously, Roger Clemens. Waddell, maybe that's a Rube Waddell reference. We don't know. Anyway, cool stuff. Russ, presumably Russ Ortiz. I don't know.
Yeah, sure, we can go with that.
Big Russ Ortiz fan, the writer of this episode.
Now, I appreciate that there's like a lot of minor league coverage in this. That's what we do. They talk about him being the best pitching prospect since Clemens, which is just easy because, like you said, Rocket is his nickname. Let's not get into the weeds of like, well, Paul Skeens might have been a better prospect than he was or whatever. And we're
like
told
when Steven Strasburg came out of San Diego State. I mean, I don't know if this guy's got that.
Exactly. But we're told he's got a 100-mile-an-hour arm. Basically, that's about it. It's kind of like a Nuclear Luge situation. Like, we just know he could throw really hard, and he can't anymore. And he was the first overall pick. He blames the yips as the reason why he doesn't have his velo. He's like, it's not an injury; it's all mental.
It's not really
how the yips work.
No, not at all.
The yips,
not even a little bit.
Typically work that you can't find the strike zone. You always have the physical ability.
You think of Rick Ankiel, Chuck Knobloch. You think of those guys who were, airmailing balls and hitting Keith Olbermann's mom in the head or throwing baseballs to the backstop from the windup. Yeah, that's the yips.
Or the most famous example of recent years, I think, is Daniel Bard.
Right.
Who famously went all the way down to the minors. I don't want to say fixed it, but like
left baseball. Basically, was working as a pitching advisor in the D-backs organization, and they decided like, I'm going to give it a shot again, and was throwing like 98, 99, dotting wherever he wanted to go.
Yeah. So it is, the yips exist, but it is more mental and is about throwing to location more than all that.
Right.
Felix Domingo, who is called up from rookie ball, we're not told to what level.
Right.
We're not told what the Montgomery cheesemongers are. He's just up from rookie. And everybody's like, who's this new kid? And it's just like, we're told he's 22 years old. Nobody has heard of him. Which like, I get like you are focused. Somebody gets called up. You might not know everything about them, but like,
you're probably aware.
Like he was just drafted.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You're probably aware of like this guy who's in your organization who you've like presumably met on a backfield somewhere, or at least like heard of. The other thing that I loved about that scene, this dude is meeting all of his teammates. They're all in full uniform. So this guy, like, theoretically, if you space that out in your brain, they all went to the clubhouse. They all got dressed before introducing themselves. Like there was no conversation before. They're all in full uniform except for Rocket Waddell, who is still in his street clothes.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's, I mean, tons to nitpick on that. I think my biggest nitpick on Felix Domingo is that his throwing motion is
So bad.
abominable.
So bad, man. And he's supposed to be like this young phenom. Oh, it's so bad. Even Waddell's delivery isn't great, but it's somewhat believable. Felix Domingo is like, oh, this guy did not grow up playing a sport. And that required him to throw a ball, I guess. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, and I'm always interested in like Felix Domingo is played by Brandon Perea, who I think in the role does fine. Like
Yeah,
he does a nice job as like the cocky guy coming up and
totally.
knows his stuff and is willing to knock down the older guys down a peg, and he plays a certain role of like negotiating with the
Brandon
older
Perea,
guys later.
fantastic in the movie Nope, by the way. He was in the Jordan Peele movie Nope. He was
Oh,
great
see,
in
there
that.
you go. I knew he looked familiar from somewhere. So
But he was also born in an independent league town, and I believe a frontier league town, coincidentally enough. He was born in Schaumburg, Illinois, home to the Schaumburg Boomers, correct? Schaumburg Boomers? And I think that is a frontier league town. Anyway, it's neither here nor there.
anyways, but the like
It is frontier league, by the way. Sorry. Okay, please
there you
continue.
go. Born. I'm always interested in casting for stuff like that, and I think the fact that, like I said earlier, this is a serial one-off episode. Every week is a one-off.
Yeah,
Like you don't need actors to do athletic things for multiple
right.
episodes. So you just cast who you think is going to play the emotional beats well, and you'll figure out the athletic stuff later. Some things go through it the other way, right? Like we need to find athletes first, and then
The movie
can see
Miracle, very famous example of this, where they cast actual hockey players as the actors, which made the hockey incredible, made the acting
Yeah,
like a little so-so. Still, the movie was amazing. But yeah,
yeah.
that went the other route.
This is a little rough. There's also a scout in the stands later, which like it plays a key part. And again, we don't want to spoil everything, but the scout is everybody believes that it's a scout because he has a giant cigar and a radar gun. No notes, no like.
No, nothing. And like presumably was, I guess, kind of supposed to be like a Mike Brito-esque character. If you remember Mike Brito, who was the famous guy back in the day at Dodger Stadium and wear the Panama hat and had the cigar and the radar gun, passed away. Incredible guy, who I got to meet once several years ago. I think that's like when people think, what does a baseball scout look like? I think they think of Mike Brito, which is very, very cool. But yeah, this guy there wasn't a lot going on as far as scouting. He just had the radar gun. He also pointed the radar gun in a very menacing way, as though it were an actual gun. I was a little spooked by that. Like the pitcher looks over this dude and he like points the gun all angrily at him.
Yeah, and it's also like a modern show, which radar guns are still used. I don't want to take
Yeah.
that away from anybody, but like normally you have an iPad now to like take notes,
Yeah, something.
automatically generate scouting reports, all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Whatever.
He's just mentally cataloging these things.
Yeah. I think that's most of my nitpicks. Tyler, you got anything else?
Oh yeah, I got a lot. Uh, one thing about, and this kills me when it comes to baseball stuff. There's a scene like the opening scene of the show. The guy goes out, Rocket Russ Waddell, and he gives up just like, I mean, dongs early, like just dudes are just blasting the ball over the wall. And his velo is dropped from, evidently it was a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. It's like 83, 79. It's not even like it's the type of stuff that would have gotten a guy. If this has been going on for some time, this dude either would have been released or he would have been on the IL. But that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is in the shots of these guys hitting the ball, the second home run, the guy makes contact and hits like what appears to be like a decently struck line drive down the first base line. And then the cut from that shot is just a dead bomb straight away center field. I'm like, you couldn't get one shot of the guy hitting the ball back up the middle to try to like nothing in that way. So that drove me a little nuts. There's also there is a key plot device in this episode is a pitching machine that malfunctions in the batting cage. and the pitching machine, Natasha Lyonne refers to as a Cold War era relic. But the pitching machine being like super old and being part of this show is one thing, but they also have like a very high tech like radar iPad setup behind the pitching machine where I'm like, you couldn't have invested any of that money into the replacing the pitching machine. And the pitching machine also weirdly throws 83 and 79 miles an hour. There's a time when Natasha Lyonne has a radar gun on the pitching machine. It's the same two low velo readings. So that's weird. There was one very good joke though about Felix Domingo that I want you had in your notes that I also wanted to touch on, but I don't want to steal that from you. It was a very good joke.
Oh no, I mean you can go for it. It's one of the most famous or infamous, depending on how you look at it, is the story of Doc Ellis throwing, was it a no-hitter or
A no
perfect
hitter, a no hitter on
No-hitter
LSD.
on LSD? And there's a very interesting animation thing, like which I
Yeah,
think is narrated by Doc Ellis
yeah,
about the whole thing. So they just play that into this. There is uh, the hotshot rookie or the hotshot guy up from rookie ball takes LSD laced gum, and of course it
he doesn't
like
know.
he doesn't know that, no. But like, is that a thing that would happen? You'd just be like, oh yeah, I have some
Yeah, these
acid
dudes
on
just
me.
have access to LSD, and they also just
It's
like
a nice throw. It's a good joke. It's a good joke. Like
okay, yeah, yeah. This is a good
you
joke
know what I mean? Like that's just like a good reference for all the baseball heads out there.
because the best way that they conveyed it, they said he Doc Ellis'd him. Like you Doc Ellis'd him, and that's a pretty good joke. And it's
Yeah,
also like a deep enough cut for baseball people. It's like all right, I'm digging that.
yeah. No, that was a good joke. And I guess now is the time where we can kind of turn it over to things we liked and things that I think worked,
Yeah,
starting with that Doc Ellis joke. I, if anything, I think this is what I want people to kind of take away from it is that the owner of the team is played by Carol Kane, who people might know from many, many things over the years.
I
Her
recognize
character,
her from a Seinfeld episode, and I was very proud of myself. I was like, was that the lady who caught the Palm Pilot that Elaine threw out of the window of a car and it hit her in the head? And it was. I was very proud of myself for recognizing her from that. She also has like if you go back to that Seinfeld episode, she's got a very similar Natasha Lyonne-esque over the top New York accent.
sure. I mean, I recognize her also from the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, which people
Yeah.
might remember. She was also in Taxi. She was in Between the Temples last year, if anybody
Okay.
saw that. Very good show or very good movie. Um, but anyway, so you'll recognize her instantly. But she's the owner of the team, and she kind of has the opposite of that major league owner mentality. And I mean the movie Major League, where they're
Right.
trying to move the team and everybody's fighting to keep it. She's fighting to keep it in town.
Right.
They even say like about how much the team means to the community and um, it provides a quote sense of community. It's the same people every day. Like that they really struck a chord on. It's not, hey, we need to go to the big city. We need to get out of here. It's like, no, this is something we want to fight for
Right.
and make sure is going to work. And I think that's part of the reason why Rocket is still with the team because he's considered a local.
Yeah.
Uh, he's
He's
kind of
like
like the one
born
that was
there.
supposed to,
He's
yeah,
referred
was
to as
supposed
being
to
one of
come
three
good,
people from that town to have their own Wikipedia page.
which is a very
One
good
of
bit.
which is also a good joke. One of the others is the guy who founded the team. This team all comes from, as the name might suggest, they all come from like cheese money. The guy invented canned cheese, basically, and he's played by BJ Novak later on in the episode, in like a kind of a tribute to the Doc Ellis animated video montage sort of thing, which is very funny.
Yeah. And there's even a line he has in that, right? That's think about baseball. It's not just a pastime, it's the passing of time itself. Pretty good line.
Yeah,
And how in baseball, every soul seeks to be safe at home.
right.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it works.
yeah. Not bad.
What else worked for you, Tyler?
I did like the name, and I'm glad you wrote all of these out. There's a schedule poster in the dugout. And one of my favorite things, this goes back to when we had Eastbound and Down in Myrtle Beach, the way that they make ballpark signage fit the team from the show is very cool. So they had a schedule poster in the dugout, and they had all of these other team names. And you wrote them out. They are the Tupelo Honeys, the Tennessee Moon Pies, the Raleigh Blue Bonnets, which I don't think my Texas-born wife would be okay with because I think that's a Texas thing rather than a North Carolina thing. North Carolinians, please weigh in and correct me. The Lake Charles Crawdads, the Houston Sombreros, the Fort Smith Chickadees, the Black Mountain Poetics, which I find an interesting one, and the Augusta Duffers, which is kind of a Green Jackets play, because that's a golf term. I don't really know what it is. But that I really liked. There there's just so much. There's so much in this show. One other thing that I found really interesting, and I remember reading a story that The Athletic did several years ago, about a guy who his hobby is identifying the games that are in the background of TV shows on TVs, in sports bars, or on the TV in a house behind a conversation that the main characters are having, whatever. I happened to notice there seem to be a lot of Big Ten baseball games playing on the sports bar TVs in this show. There's one game that's at Purdue, where you could see the big P logo behind home plate. There's another game where you can see the Big Ten logo down the baseline on the background TV in one of those scenes. That has nothing to do with anything, but I found that really interesting. That's like the rights free or the licensed games that they could play on the background TVs. But yeah, it was an interesting look into the world of baseball.
Yeah, and I guess this is a little spoilery, but I will say it since it drives so much of the episode.
Yeah.
I feel like we should at least address it. So if you don't want things spoiled, click.
If
click
you're
through
a
to the end.
die-hard Poker Face fan and you have not yet come across this episode, if you haven't gotten to watch it yet, skip through.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So here's the spoilery bit. A lot of this show is based around gambling, right? Like it's about betting on the team to lose so they can make their money back. It's essentially the Black Sox gamble
Right.
bad team.
Right.
And some of it they get a little rough because they're just like, oh, well, why don't we do this? And it is a concern, right? Like it is something every year I have to go through gambling training because
I was going to say, especially in the world now where sports betting has infected absolutely every aspect of American life.
And this wasn't in the show, and I don't think they were necessarily going to put it there because it's just like a lot of detail. But if you walk in any clubhouse, there are signs like on the dangers of sports gambling, what you are not allowed to do. You are not allowed to bet on baseball. I know that's a huge issue right now with everything that's happened with Pete Rose in recent days. But
and not just in baseball. I mean, you look at the NBA and Jonte Porter. There have been collegiate athletes who have been pulled under by sports betting these days. It is a sport and societal wide issue.
Yes, and one thing I want to throw out there though, which may put some of you at ease, one of the key plot points is like, oh, some unnamed person won millions of dollars betting against the cheesemongers.
Right.
If you work in baseball, if you are a player, if you are a coach, if you are a team employee, if you are a league employee, your name's on a list.
Yeah.
The second you bet through an app on a baseball thing, it gets lit up immediately.
Yeah.
So that's what we're told. I haven't heard of like this happening specific to a person, but like there is so much involved in gambling that always has to be traced. Now, if they're going to like a side bookie to do this, that's one thing, but then it wouldn't make news, right? Like
if you're doing it through your weird college buddy who's got like his black book and he's, whatever, that's not quite the same. But yeah, if you're just logging into your generic app and like laying down money on the Montgomery Cheesemongers to lose 24 straight games, it's probably going to be flagged.
That gets flagged exceptionally quickly.
Yeah.
And you would be banned from the sport, like all sorts of I think it was the D-backs a few years ago had an issue with this. There were a few players who were suspended recently, including one from the D-backs. And yeah, it's just very traceable. So this is not something that like, oh, maybe could happen underneath the table. Your name is on there. Don't do it.
Yeah.
There will be immediate consequences. So again, it's like good for the show that like this can happen under the table here, but then when you wear grills to the clubhouse,
and like another dude walks in like a giant fur coat, which is also sort of funny because that there are people out there absolutely dumb enough to have won a bunch of money betting against themselves and then immediately show off all of this new money that they got. There are definitely people dumb enough to do that. But yeah, so the whole plot of the show probably not really possible in 2025. But I'm just gonna close my thoughts on this episode by saying you give me like a best of three or a best of seven between the Montgomery Cheesemongers and the 2025 Colorado Rockies. I'm probably taking the Cheesemongers. You know what I mean? Like if there's
Boy,
even if there's
maybe
not
we
money
can
on the
talk to
line.
Ryan Johnson. They'll write that in for season 3. What? I want to end on this note. We're having a lot of fun of like picking nits here, and I think it's because we love the game so much. Obviously, we care so much about it. We want things to be right. But at the end of the day, more of this. I would love to do this weekly.
Yeah.
I would love for people to be like, you know what, minor league baseball is important enough for us to
Absolutely.
make it a setting for our show.
Right.
So this, I congratulate and I thank Poker Face for doing that. If they want to hire us to be like part of the season 3,
Why don't we get like a consulting thing established where they bounce ideas off of me and you, and we get to be the wet blankets going, no, that would never happen.
Because if this was truly a bad show, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Yeah.
There's plenty of fun elements in here. If you have Peacock, go watch it. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know if we missed anything or if we are being too harsh or not harsh enough. But yeah, if you love minor league baseball, I think you're going to find a lot in here to really sink your teeth into.
The only complaint that I have uniform wise, and you knew that I was going to be real focused on uniform stuff. The only complaint that I think I have is that they are wearing adjustable hats. Never happened in pro ball. In affiliated pro ball wouldn't happen. You got to at least get like and they're wearing Richardson brand hats. They still have like the maker's mark on the side. Just get the little flex fit ones. It can't be that much more expensive for the NBC money behind this show.
The thing is about that, and again, this is wrong, and we know this is wrong. But like for the viewer at home, if you are thinking what knocks this down to minor league level,
adjustable hats.
Like it's a nice little detail. Again, this doesn't happen in the minor leagues.
Thought, Sam.
I think that's
I see that.
Somebody
I get that.
The fashion department thinking that through a little bit of like, how can we make this look a little bit rougher around the edges without having to address that at every turn? Again, not how the minor leagues works. Thankfully, those guys get to wear crisp uniforms and official hats, but just throwing that out there.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that theory. I do think that this should be the start. Ghost of the Miners currently on hiatus. I do think that this should be the start of a segment in which when we come across random minor league baseball appearances in pop culture, we got to break them down. Like maybe we go all the way back to when Homer Simpson becomes the mascot for the Springfield Isotopes and then gets called up to Capital City. Dancing Homer. Maybe we go back and we do that. Maybe we do. So I think there's a lot of stuff that we could do looking through the pop culture lens at minor league baseball. I think it'd be very entertaining since Josh Jackson has receded into the wilds of realm of existence where he is the Josh Jackson of Ghost of the Miners. I think we could use this as something to fill that void.
Yeah. Let us know if there's something that's even like a deeper cut. Like we could go into I would love to go into the minor league career of Sam Malone or something like that.
Absolutely. Which I believe there's a baseball reference page for Sam Malone. I know that there are several baseball reference pages for fictional characters. There is a baseball reference page, a bio page. I don't believe that there is like an actual stats page, but man, I think it would be fantastic if they would just make up Sam Malone's career numbers. According to his bio, Sam Mayday Malone was a relief pitcher turned bar owner on the American sitcom Cheers. Pitched for the Red Sox 1972 to 1978. And he apparently, it's believed that he was based on Sam McDowell. I don't think I knew that. Who knew? Okay, so if you want to get in touch and let us know a show that you would like us to break down, I would love to obviously talk about Eastbound and Down or Brockmire or those fun ones, but those are like full baseball series. I don't know if we could do that. But if there is something that's been out there that is just like needled in your brain of like, this would never happen, or I think this is a really good representation of this, or whatever it is, let us know. Podcast@milb.com. Sam and I will watch and exchange our notes and waste your time by ranting about pointless stuff on this podcast because that's what life is about. All right, Sam. Well, coming up, we can't do a full-on name that dude because we do not have Benjamin Hill, but we are back to wrap things up, and maybe we'll name some dudes on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Before we get out of here, Sam, we did this.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
A couple months ago, I think, when Ben was out, where you and I will just name a team and the other person has to name a dude that they remember from that team. You want to be the team namer or the team namee? You name it.
I'll name a team first, and then you can lobby one back.
Okay. Okay.
So let's just go with the Mets.
Ooh, just like a random Met. Bobby J. Jones.
Okay.
I believe that was the right Bobby Jones. Yes, Bobby J. Jones was on the New York Mets because there was also a Bobby M. Jones, I think. Bobby M. Jones? Yeah, Bobby M. Jones was the other one who was on the Red Sox for a little while. I remember him from the Colorado Rockies. Man, Bobby M. Jones is 53 years old now. Holy cow. Okay, but Bobby J. Jones is the one who I was thinking of. He pitched for the Mets and the San Diego Padres. Man, did not realize he was the 36th pick overall in the 91 draft, Bobby J. Jones. And for a while was like a dude. Like 1997, he was an all-star, 3.63 ERA and 30 starts for the Mets. He went 15-9. Pitcher wins back in the day. But he also finished top 10 in Rookie of the Year voting in his debut season, the strike-shortened year of 1994. And then he finished his career with a couple of tougher seasons with the San Diego Padres in the early 2000s. Bobby J. Jones, Sam.
You know what stands out most to me, just looking at his baseball reference page, which you are also looking at?
Yeah.
4 times in his career, he threw not exactly, but he threw between 195 and 196 innings. No more, no less.
And if you add in a different season, he threw between 193 and a third and 195 and 2/3 in additional time, because in 1997, his All-Star year, he threw 193 and a third. So 95, 195 and 2/3, 96, the exact same inning total, 97, 193 and a third, 98, 195 and 1/3, and then in 2001 with the Padres, 195 innings. That is wild.
Yeah. I think that's just...
And that's like before inning caps, really. Like it wasn't as though the 96 Mets were like, all right, we got to keep this guy at 195 and 2/3 innings.
I don't know
what
it was.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And he had one
really
more
funny.
start in 96 than he had in 95, but he pitched the same exact amount of innings. Huh. Interesting. Okay, Sam, you're wearing a Texas Longhorns shirt today. You're tied in with the Texas sphere these days via Brittany, who I'm very excited to meet. So I'm going to go with the closest team to Austin, Texas, the Texas Rangers. Give me a random Texas Ranger of years past, of yesteryear.
I don't know if we've ever talked about this guy before. It's very possible, but for some reason he's always on my brain. Heck, it's very possible we brought up this guy last time we chatted, and he's not really random. I don't know if the kids know enough about him these days. Juan Gonzalez, man.
Oh man. Puerto Rico U18 baseball manager Juan Gonzalez led his team to a silver at the U23 at the U23 Baseball World Cup this past year in in China. Awesome dude, really friendly. Juan Gonzalez, I remember, and maybe we have talked about Juan Gonzalez, but the thing that I remember about Juan Gonzalez was he went into like several straight years where people were like, oh, he's going to break Hack Wilson's RBI record, which is incredible because Juan
Yeah.
Gonzalez was just like 1996 through 1999, the fewest runs. Well, let's take it through 2001, with the exception of one season in that stretch. The fewest runs that he drove in a season was 128. Now, obviously, granted, RBIs, we know a lot more about RBIs as a stat nowadays, blah, blah, blah. Like, you still got to be able to get hits in those spots or be productive in those spots. He drove in 157 runs in 1998 for the Rangers in 154 games. Like, Juan Gonzalez was a dude. He was so good and just like a fun guy to watch because he's listed at 6'3", 175, but he was bigger than that in his playing days. Certainly, just via the presence that he cut in the batter's box, he looked like he was about 7 foot, 280, all muscle. But two-time MVP winner. He won, 6 Silver Slugger awards. Like he was, I think you're right. I don't think enough cred is given to just how great Juan Gonzalez was in his career.
Yeah, I mean, finished with a career OPS plus of 132. I think, unfortunately for him, he played in an era in the late 90s. Like his high for RBIs was 157. He led the American League in RBIs that year in 1998. That's right around the time that we're talking about McGuire a bunch. We're talking about Sosa a bunch. We're talking about Barry Bonds coming right down the pipe. Ken Griffey Jr. is obviously really, generating tons of excitement in the same division.
Right.
And Juan Gonzalez was he started out his career as a center fielder, but you know him pretty well as more of a right fielder,
right.
or there was a time where he was a left fielder as well, and then DH for a good bit. So he just was always kind of getting overshadowed, and he finished his career with 38.7 WAR. So he's not going to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever really going to come up, but like a guy winning the MVP twice in a 3-year span.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Like that's definitely Hall of pretty good. And a guy that every once in a while is just like, you know what? Like you said, RBIs, we know a lot more about them now. They're very team dependent. You can only drive guys on or drive guys in if they're on base.
Right.
Solo homers are to be celebrated, but like they only go so far.
Right.
But you're doing the most you can possibly do as a hitter.
But dude, there was a time when he was a Hall of Fame. I mean, he went like the end of his career was very quiet. Battled through injuries. 2002 only played 70 games, 82 games in 2003, both of those seasons with the Rangers after he spent a couple of years away from Texas. 33 games with the Royals in 2004. He only played 1 game in 2005 in Cleveland. But like if you look at his career trajectory before the early 2000s when the injuries, I mean, his 2001 season, he was an all-star that year for Cleveland. Like he was definitely trending in a Hall of Fame direction. He also debuted in the big leagues at 19. Like his age 19 season, his debut season, he was just before his 20th birthday. He played 24 games for Texas in 1989. Like he could have had, if he had stayed healthy, he could have had a 20-year career in which he ends up as, I mean, certainly as a 500 home run guy. He finished his career at 434, and that's with basically 4 seasons without playing, essentially, down the stretch in his career. Yeah, he's one of those dudes who burned bright and burned out, unfortunately, before it should have been over for him.
Yeah, and I want to also just throw out there, like, there's a story here from ESPN.com from 2012 that is about how the specter of steroids doomed his Hall of Fame hopes.
Right.
And he was named in Jose Canseco's book.
Right.
There was a part where his luggage was caught at the Cleveland airport because it had PEDs and steroid paraphernalia in it.
Right. And that's unfortunately.
But he's also in that group of like, he was never suspended. He was baseball was, not, I don't want to say completely looking the other way, but like guys weren't getting caught with that left and right.
There was no framework for punishment at that time.
Yeah.
There was no testing.
You have to group them in with like Mark McGuire's not in, Sammy Sosa's not in, Juan Bonds is also not in. Yeah.
Right. And unfortunately, the specter of that looms over everybody who was good in that era. With the exception maybe of somebody like Ken Griffey Jr. because he was hurt all the time. And that is the unfortunate thing. But it's also the context in which, we grew up as kids watching baseball. And now to look at the wider scope of that, there are so many different intricacies to all of those conversations that, like, yeah, obviously it's a bummer, I think, to have to talk about these guys in the sense of like, well, do we know X, Y, and Z about them? Was the career clean? Yada yada. But I mean, that's sports, man. Those are the conversations that you have about sports, and it's interesting the layers to those conversations now versus maybe how you would have talked about these guys even just 15 years ago.
Right. Yeah, it's always interesting, and it's always, going to be a debate in our sport because it's a period of history in our sport. But
Right.
For those of us, like you said, who grew up in the late '90s, Juan Gonzalez,
He was
always going to hold a certain part
dude.
in our brains and maybe in our hearts too.
Manager of that U23. He was a manager of their Premier 12 team too back in November, which I forgot. He will not be the manager of their WBC team in 2026 because that is Yadier Molina, but presumably, going to be involved with Puerto Rico and all of that. And a big time dude in the formative years for the two dorks currently hosting the Show Before the Show podcast this week, who have given you all of our thoughts on, Natasha Lyonne's accent and the cheesemongers and Juan Gonzalez's RBI totals. What more could you want from your favorite friendly neighborhood minor league baseball podcast? I don't know if you could ask for anything, really. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. We are coming up. We are 2 weeks away, less than 2 weeks away now, from the Show Before the Show night at the home of the Somerset Patriots. You can, of course, go to milb.com/Somerset. Get your tickets to be there. There will be a doubleheader on June 11th now, as the Patriots will play against the Portland Sea Dogs in a twin bill. And we're so stoked to be there. Sam and Ben Hill and yours truly, we will be there hanging out with you for a night of baseball at the home of the Somerset Patriots. And get your tickets. You can join us there to have some very similarly bizarre and random fun like we had on this week's episode of the show. So for the traveling Benjamin Hill and for Sam Dykstra, my name is Tyler Maughan. Thanks for catching us. Send us your baseball pop culture things that you want us to break down, and we'll do our best to bore you to tears or make you rage alongside us. For those dudes, my name is Tyler Maughan. We'll catch you next week.